It's a third line day. We're in gate 16, the gate of skills, and the third line is called independence. So trial and error. And it's not necessarily the trial and error of the experiment itself, more the process of getting to the point where experimentation is even possible. There can be a very deep frustration in this channel. No, this isn't a voice that is saying, I know, I know. The 16 is saying, I want to try. I really want to experiment with this. I want to prove it. But it has no energy to do that. The lifetime learning says self-generating and sustaining skills rather than enthusiasm. And the exaltation is the proper timing to maintain rhythm and avoid deflation. The independent skill and possible talent to express proper timing and rhythm. Timing. You can't express talent without timing, and you cannot force timing. And you can see why there's frustration here in this gate, this whole channel. You to have talent, to have the ability to be able to work, to practice endlessly, to perfect something, to master it, but not to have the energy, and maybe not to have the recognition or the invitation to express it, to be constantly conditioned by those around you who may provide you with the energy for that. Deeply frustrating. In the detriment, we have the child whose overconfidence may lead to frustration and the ensuing dependence on others to regenerate their skills, thus creating an unnecessary reliance. The need to have others confirm skills or talents. So what happens here is that dependency is built up on those who confirm skills and talents. It's easily, you can see how easily that would happen. You've got someone who hasn't got any energy to express something, especially a child, and being told, being recognized for their skill and talent can give them that feeling of enthusiasm. It's not necessarily healthy. It's not necessarily unhealthy. But again, this is not about good or bad. This is simply about different ways. And there are many talented people who can find their own way. There are many people who can find their own timing and who are able to manifest their skills without being dependent on anyone else. And there are others who can't do that. And there are those who have a way to regularly practice and work and refine what they have. And there are those who can't. And they need to be controlled or corralled. Is corralled the right word? Into doing their practice. Maybe even bossed around. And that's just the way the world is. It's the two sides because we live in a binary. And also this is the trial and error process. You bump into something and find out how it works. This is how one discovers what works, what doesn't work. We move into gate 9 to have a look at the grounding for the sun. And gate 9 in the third line is called the straw that breaks the camel's back, which is a wonderful name. There's an enormous amount of focusing that can be done by this third line. That's what it says here. But it also says there's a point where the whole thing collapses and the bonds can be made and broken. Trial and error. It always follows through. It's the genetic continuity, goes all the way through all of these lines. And it is so easy to say yes to things. Imagine that you have this gate of focus in an open sacral. I do. And you don't know when enough is enough. Yep. And so you take on things that require your focus, and eventually it's too much. Or you try and fit in one more rehearsal to hone your skills, to refine your talent, but it's too much. And remember, this is a good signpost for not self behavior. You don't have to express this quality, even if you have this in the detriment, but it's a really good signpost to have. I have this, I have the 9 in an open sacral. And I have a lot of energy for the things that I take on, or I'm able to sort of feel into the energy that I have. Doing the transits, for example, I seem to have lots of energy for doing this. And there are some days when one other thing comes in, and it might not be a human design thing, just, it might be a general life thing. And it really is the straw that breaks the camel's back. I cannot take it on. My energy just goes and I'm done. Good to notice, and there were times when with my defined ego, I would have just motored on through that and done it. And these days I'm getting a lot better at going, okay, I can see I need to pull back from this. I need to go and have a rest. Taken a long time, but that's the deconditioning process, isn't it? I mean, that's the cycle. It doesn't, you don't decondition in one day. It's taken a long time for that one to gradually come in and be solid. So, what's it like in your experience? Do you have anything that you can share in your deconditioning journey? Venus is on the move today, going into gate 16. So we're getting a bit of a feel for gate 16 now, but at 13:45, Venus moves into gate 16, establishing our values, our personal morals, and affecting our view of what we deem to be valuable. Venus can have an effect on how we interact with other people and how we relate with other people. And the qualities here are associated with beauty and grace and aesthetics. And so it's rather nice that it's in gate 16 in a way, because it's that collective gate. So interacting, relating with other people, and it's a gate of the arts, and the arts are associated often with grace and beauty and aesthetics. So we have this throat gate, this gate 16, we know it from the sun at the moment. So we can ask ourselves questions around, do we value our own skills? Are we even aware of our own skills? Do we appreciate the skills of others? Do we recognize the skills of others? It's a projector gate. Is that something that maybe would be useful to do, would be supportive? It's not tribal, but you know what I mean. It's collective. The sharing aspect is really important. Is that something you value? Some skills are actually best not shared. When you think of office karaoke night, for example, but it's still somewhere we interact with each other. There can still be a beauty of a sort. Any thoughts on that? Mercury is moving into gate 23 at 08:46. Mercury associated with the mind and mental functions, so that's very appropriate, really, that it should be in this gate, which is pointing at the 43 in the ajna, the mind. It's also, of course, communication and expression. So gate 23, throat gate, and very appropriate to find Mercury here. Timing is important for all of the throat gates. It's important for all of the gates, actually, I guess, in one way or another. And certainly gates in individuality benefit hugely from correct timing. This is a projector channel, so waiting for an invitation to speak and to express insights, that could be very helpful, because some of those insights might land and be, wow, blow someone's mind wide open to a new possibility, because this can be a very mutative gate. It could also just be very weird, like, whoa, okay, go over to the corner, and may not be welcomed at all. So the correct timing, the correct invitation, all of that helps to ensure that your insights are more likely to be received and appreciated. The moon is currently still in the root gate of 41, and the fuel for our imagination and fantasy. And it moves into gate 19 at 11:01. This is the gate of wanting. This is a tribal gate, and it's the root pressure to access basic resources, really, for the successful interactions with others, so that our material and emotional needs for food, shelter, and the protection of our territory are met. All very important tribal needs, requirements. Really, they're more than, is a need more than a requirement? Anyway, it can be a very powerful need to find all these things. Now, it's not just a passing interest. It's a really deep drive. It's root gate. There's a huge fuel comes out of the root. It can also be a very sensitive gate, gate 19. So there can be a lot of sensitivity around the needs of others, but there can also be an internal sensitivity around your own needs. And so there's finding the balance between the two. And the next gate is 13, and that's at 20:45, and it's the gate of the listener in the G center. So this is where people might suddenly just start telling you their stories and their secrets, or maybe you start telling other people something. If you have something to share, it's collective. After all, it's all about sharing. Maybe it's just finding someone who'll listen. Perhaps you've been invited to a lecture about life in ancient Egypt. Why not? And this is a gate of memory. So it's a gate about reflecting on past experiences. And in the process, making sense of them. And you're sitting there in that lecture, and all of a sudden something lands with you. And whoa, okay, you can like bring all of these past experiences together and make sense of them. And then you have something of personal value that can then be of value to the community at large. And finally, gate 49 at 627. This is the gate of principles, and this is the other end of the channel to the 19 that we had the gate before last in the moon. This time we're in the solar plexus, so it's a different kind of fuel. But there is a possibility for some emotional weather here. It's the ratchet wave that comes in with the 49. That's the tribal wave. Depends what else is happening in your chart, of course. But this is the transformation of forms based on the highest principles, and not simply for power. It's about helping the tribe out with whatever your principles are. This is also the gate of sacrifice. All sounds very good, huh? It's also the gate of revolution. So maybe there's the energy for engaging in social change. Maybe you feel a need to correct something that's imbalanced within your community, or you can see that there's an unjust distribution of resources, because this is something the 49 is very focused on. The 19 at the other end of the channel makes sure that all the resources are there, and the 49 makes sure they go to the people who need them. So they work together, of course, being in the same channel. So that's the weather for today. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your experience of today. Any comments, please do leave them, and I always enjoy reading them. I'll be back tomorrow for the 16-4. Thank you.